I would rather not sell you a building and you come back to me in a year and say, Matt, I'm so glad I didn't buy that. I've got a little bit more money now and I want to buy this. And if it makes sense, then let's go do it. I'd rather steer you away from doing something than it falling back on me saying, well, why did I buy this? It wasn't the great advice.
You're listening to the Dore Podcast, where we spotlight the people, ideas, and businesses keeping Ottawa running. From contractors to real estate investors, entrepreneurs to industry experts, we dive into real conversations and help grow everybody's pie.
Episode 40. Lennard.
So welcome to the Dore Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Dore. So each week we sit down with leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs to uncover their stories, lessons, and strategies for success. So today I'm joined with a good friend of mine, Matt Shackell from Lennard Commercial Realty. Looking forward to this. Happy you're here to come and have a chat with me. And so Matt, for those of you who don't know him, specializes in commercial real estate. With helping business owners, investors, developers with their market needs. His approach focuses on building lasting relationships and delivering client-focused solutions, making him a trusted advisor to in the commercial space. So Matt, we'll dive into your journey and get to learn a bit more about you.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me out. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Beautiful office space you have here, and I'm excited to have a chat about the last 11 years of my commercial real estate life.
There you go. No, and it's going to be fun because I've known you, but I bet I'll learn things from you too.
Let's hope.
So Matt, tell me about your journey. So you just mentioned you're in commercial real estate for 30 years.
11, I wish.
I'm just kidding. It feels like you got experience for 30 years.
My dad, on the other hand, more than 30 years, but yeah, it does. It does. I might look like I've been in it for 30 years.
I'm just pulling your leg. No, so tell us, like, how does that journey? I know your dad is in commercial real estate, still is, obviously. So tell me about, like, what is that? Well, like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I guess growing up, that's kind of all I was overhearing on my dad's calls and whatnot, whether they were good or bad, or is raising his voice or not. No, I'm more kidding aside, but no, he's the reason why I got into it. I come from a family of 6, so there's obviously my parents and then the 4 siblings, 3 sisters, and myself. And yeah, real estate just came naturally from growing up and, like I said, overhearing conversations. And then, my younger days was going into the office at CBRE to bring your kid to work day and slowly getting to understand, what real estate is. And, most of the general public would say, okay, real estate, they think selling houses, which, as you know, we're totally different. We don't sell houses. We deal with, the commercial real estate, and specifically myself and Ian is on the industrial sales and leasing and then land development. And then we would branch off and do a couple other assignments for certain clients. But yeah, that's how I got into it. It was through Ian. I did not study real estate in university. I took business management and urban planning, which, tie in a little bit. Got my license through AREA and RICO. And here I am now in my 11th year. And as everyone says, time flies.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, and it's quite impressive and it's great. I mean, your dad's great. It's fun to be able to watch and learn, from him and you as well, obviously. So you guys come from, real estate, but not in the same, like it's real estate, but it's not, the same with multi-res. So it's fun to hear, where some of the meetings I'm sitting down, I'm like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. So, which is one of the biggest reasons why I joined Lennard Commercial, which is, to be surrounded by guys like you. So it's good. So the transition from CBRE to Lennard, so that took place when exactly?
It was about 3.5 years ago. So I was at CBRE for the better half of 7 years. Yeah. Started in research and then worked my way up to being a sales associate to then associate vice president. And then we saw an opportunity at Lennard. We connected with Dan Hunt and Andrew Baker and thought there would be a good opportunity to move it to Canada's capital and opening up a brokerage here.
Because they're in Toronto.
They're in Toronto. They're in the GTA.
Right.
They got multiple offices there. And I think overall they're trying to expand across Canada to be nationwide brokerage.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. Obviously, I haven't worked in a lot of brokerages, but you guys are awesome. And I know that the when it comes to even the Toronto office and dealing with Dan Hunt and that whole onboarding was phenomenal. It's a very entrepreneurial type minded people. I own a property management company and didn't know how that would work with being in the brokerage and making sure there's no conflicts or whichever. But it was very easy, transparent. So it's great to be part of that team. So
Absolutely, I'm glad to hear that.
yeah, no, it's awesome. Yeah. And obviously, commercial real estate. One of the things I've learned. I mean, obviously, I do property management. I own my own properties. I'm involved in development. So even commercial was a bit of a newish type environment. And one of the things I realized, as much as it's, a lot of our business is what is it? Relationships with people, but commercial I find is just another whole other level of relationships that need to be nurtured and maintained. And obviously you guys have, your dad's been in for 30-ish years.
I'd say almost 40 years.
Okay. Yeah. So it's impressive because I go in and look at the relationships that you guys have and all the people
Yeah.
So how do you, like, you've been in the business, and obviously you from your dad you get some of the runoff for sure, but how do you keep nurturing that client relationship? Because people don't buy real estate every year.
No,
right?
You bring up a very good point, and that's the most difficult challenge in commercial real estate is managing your clients and the relationships you have, and understanding that they are going to reach out to other brokerages, they are going to reach out to other, specific people in that asset class regarding certain listings and whatnot, and not everything is going to go through you. As much as you'd like it to, it won't. Obviously, you want to have your hands on the entire pie, but I think over time I learned, I can't control everything. I can only control what's in my hands. And, building those relationships is simply just staying in touch with them, whether it's a phone call, an email, some of them like to text, whether it's a coffee meeting, whatever it is staying in touch with them, giving them the honest truth and opinion about their asset. I'll be brutally honest, we're in a tough market right now. And in tough markets, people seem to get stressed. And when you're a listing team, you got to be able to perform, and you want to be able to fill these vacancies, or you want to be able to sell the asset. And in a challenging market, the first one to get pointed at is us. And, why isn't it selling, or why isn't it leasing? And you have to go step up to bat and say, listen, this is the issue. Whether the rent's too high or the building needs to be fixed or the unit or whatever you're dealing with, you have to be honest with them, which I do find a lot of brokers struggle with. And at the start of my career, I had a hard time, telling them the truth, ripping the Band-Aid off and saying, listen, this is the problem. But as you do that and you gain their trust and you build that relationship, they're going to appreciate that a whole lot more than you sugarcoating it and fluffing it up, saying, oh, this is, it's all good, it's all good. But no, it's either overpriced or there's something wrong, and this is the market we're in, right? People might read the news, watch the news, you flick on you see it everywhere, right? What's happening with the tariffs, and overall our government's trying to make decisions here, and it affects local businesses and national businesses. And I think a lot of brokers look at this and they digest that information, but they may not reciprocate it to their clients and let them know the truth on what's happening. So I'm a huge believer of, even if it's not great news, rip the Band-Aid off, let them know about it, but also come up with a solution. Don't just give them the news and say, okay, here you go, go digest it. Have a solution, have a game plan, and follow it. And listen, we've lost assignments because we haven't performed. We could look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, it's our problem, and part of it might be, but it's also because of the market. And listings, you'll see they'll change brokerages' hands, and one will go to CB, one will go to Colliers, one will come to us, and it's a great big circle. So I always say, take some off the chin. You keep your head high, and you keep grinding, because it's in those tougher markets, it makes it that much harder to, I say make money, but we don't make money unless our clients make money. And I'm sure if any of our clients are going to listen to this, they're like, I've heard them say that. Yeah. We don't make money unless our clients make money. Yeah, it might be great to take on another listing, have a sign up and whatnot, but ultimately we want to see them, achieve success, and just like us, and work together. And it's almost a marriage when you're doing these listings, because we take on some big undertakings, and there's a lot of money at stake for these investors, and whether they're a developer or whoever they are, it's substantial. And typically in the market, it's interesting where the market, you think the reason for the market being as tough as it is it just sentiment, or is the tariffs really
playing a role, or is it interest rates, or is it just people are just spooked by everything's happening and there's no stability? Like what do you think is making the market tougher?
I would say it's a mix of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll hear the news in the US and a lot of people will say, oh, well, that doesn't affect us, but it does. There's no question. Interest rates are what they are. Yes, they're coming down, they're getting better. Again, it's the mentality of it all, right? A lot of groups want to see that, okay, you know what, I'm putting money into a GIC at 6%. Well, why am I going to go buy this building when my return is less than 6% or not even close to that? And I'm not going to, I'll be honest, I'll be the first one to say, don't buy this asset because it doesn't make sense. So it has to make sense. The returns have to be there. Owning real estate's great. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can walk inside of it, you can do whatever you want. It's yours, you can fix it up, you can put paint on it. It's more hands-on, whereas an investment in the stock market is totally different. You put your money there, that's it.
You have no control.
You have no really control over it. So I believe investing in real estate, especially in Ottawa, is a strong and smart play and decision. But again, it has to be for the right price.
Yeah.
You look at owner-occupied sales, you look at investment sales, land sales, whatever it is. Those are the main three assets we focus in.
Yeah.
That's where you got to be able to understand. Would I buy this? If I wouldn't buy it, then I'm not going to try selling it to my client.
Yeah, I love that.
Otherwise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, there are larger purchases that clients and more risks that they'll take.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it really has to make sense on a cap rate perspective and the return on investment.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer. I second everything you just said there because I'm a big believer. I've owned real estate for 25 years, and I always say real estate is great if you can weather the storms, because the storms will come.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit certain points where everything's just rocking, everything's just, full occupancy, there's no issues, but then you get that one issue happening, or the market changes, or mortgage commitment is completely off, or you get vacancy, or heaven forbids, you get some type of flood or whatever. And if you can't weather the storm, owning real estate is not always fun.
No, I agree. And I will say, obviously every task and assignment we work on is different from one and another one that we work on. Yeah. They're all different. You might be dealing with someone that has money that they can park. There's no mortgage on it, and they're going to let it sit, whether they're going to land bank or they're going to just throw in X amount of money towards an asset. And then there's others that are saying, I'm refinancing an asset to go buy another one. I need this money to work for me to make sure that the returns make sense. Otherwise, why am I going to go finance a building and throw it into another asset?
Right.
So every little bit, whether it's an owner-occupied sale, investment sale, land banking, whatever it is, it has to make sense. And every specific sale or deal, whatever way you want to call it, is different and unique in its own.
Yeah.
And you have to put the thought and the time into it and put yourself in that buyer's or tenant's shoes.
Exactly.
And understand their wants and their needs.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if everybody does that. But that's one thing we take pride on is we're going to I would rather not sell you a building and you come back to me in a year and say, Matt, I'm so glad I didn't buy that. I've got a little bit more money now and I want to buy this. And if it makes sense, then let's go do it.
Right.
I'd rather steer you away from doing something than it falling back on me saying, well, why did I buy this? It wasn't the great advice. So I always take pride on the honesty that we give, and that's what we want to provide our clients with.
Yeah, it's relationships. Obviously, if you steer them in the right direction, they have success. They'll be happy with you. If not, then sometimes it's not always your fault. But having that mentality, I think, is the way to go for long term. So if you take one of the things I've noticed too with commercial real estate in many cases is you have listings that are on the market for exorbitant amount of times. Like what? So with your experience, like what is, when you get something, you get a listing, whether it's a land development or industrial site, whichever, like what is a reasonable time frame that you think is where something needs to happen before you need to readjust? Because there's a certain point where we understand there's a niche, but there's certain times where you can't be on the market for a year and a half, or sometimes you can. I don't know.
That's the toughest question I've been asked in a little while, and I'm glad you asked it because again, every asset, whether it's, again, a vacant piece of land, you can't do much to a vacant piece of land. If you want to go through the rezoning process, there's a huge ticket cost to it, and then you don't know what the timing is on that.
Right.
At Dore, our dedicated leasing team is available 7 days a week because we understand that finding the right rental can be time sensitive. Our leasing matchmakers are here to guide you every step of the way, making your rental experience smooth and stress-free. Inquire today and rent from people who care.
Right, you're dealing with the city of Ottawa. That's totally out of my wheelhouse. I'll help people, I'll assist them, we'll do everything we can, but it might come back to us like, well, you told me this. They always say you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig.
Right.
Land is one of those things where it could take a year. It could take 3 months. It just depends on how you price it. And where's the market at, right? Is it, are we selling an industrial piece of land at $1.5 million an acre and it's just going to sit there for 2 years because no one's paying that? Because you have to run the numbers back. What was my purchase price per acre? Here's my construction costs. What's my return on investment? What's my net rent? Those all have to add up and make sense for then us to go and say, okay, well, here's the plan. We're going to go lease this, and here's what you're going to get, $17.50 a square foot, for example. But then it's all going to revert back. Well, I paid $1.5 million per acre. This is going to be really challenging for me to make this work. So that's for in the land category. When it comes to buildings, it depends. Location, clear height. For example, I'm talking about an industrial building. Clear height. Your dock loading. Is it dock? Is it drive-in? Your turning radius? Can you get a 53-foot trailer behind there? Your store frontage, or do you have frontage on a main arterial street? Are you tucked in the back of an industrial park? All of those factors contribute to the leasability of a property. And I like to say to somebody, I'll give you an opinion of value of how long it's going to take, what you're going to get, but I need to physically see the asset or the unit, whatever you want to call it. I want to see it before I start, giving my opinion. And we've taken on listings. Most of our listings are 6-month contracts. And in today's market, depending on the asset, it's going to be probably 4 to 6 months by the time you get a lease complete.
Okay.
Lease negotiations can also take, unfortunately, I'll say it, a couple months. And it's thousands of dollars in lawyer fees. And nobody likes it, but it is what it is. Especially dealing with the national groups, they have their own in-house legal, and it's a substantial process. So the range, it really depends on the asset. I don't want to tell you, on average. No,
it was more of and I understand it's a bit of a loaded question when I asked that, because it's how do you know from one, the assets are so different, and it depends. But it's always curious, because you're running a business, obviously. So you can't just have listings, like you say, you get paid when there's results. So if you take on listings that have no, there's no way to get anything happening for like a year or two or three. At some point, there needs to be some type of connection in order for it to make sense.
Yeah, and at that point, it's most likely price.
Right.
If you've gone out for 5 acres of land at $1.5 million and it's way out in deep Navan and it's not fully zoned and your neighboring tenants aren't, the cleanest, and it's mixed with residential, with commercial, and then you got a little bit of retail, you got to go in there and tell that seller the honest opinion. You can't just throw a number at it and it's been listed by 5 or 6 different brokers. It's going to sit. And those conversations are tough. There's a lot of individuals, families, you name it, they're relying on the income from that property or the sale price of that property to, whether it's pay off debt or disperse the money throughout the family or throughout the companies. And it can be personal conversations. But I'm a big believer in, listen, do you want to have it sit or do you want to actually transact?
Right.
So there's a list price that will have things sit, and there's a list price that will potentially have things transact.
Yeah. You want to be for sale or do you want to sell?
And that's just it. You and I have had some of those conversations.
I know.
So it's tough, and it's hard. And like I said, it can be personal, and people won't want to hear that. Hey, listen, your land's only worth $800,000. I know you've been told it's worth 1.5. Maybe you have an appraisal at 1.5, but there's a reason why it's not transacting. And it's like that for any asset, whether it's office, retail, industrial, land. Those conversations pertain to any asset, and I believe they hold true. And again, it goes back to the honest opinion and you being upfront with your client. You could sugarcoat everything and make it seem like it's all butterflies and rainbows, but when you really get down to it, like you got to give them the honest opinion on what it's worth, and that's what's going to make it transact.
Yeah, in my experience too, dealing in multi-res too, the CMHC plays. I know you guys aren't exposed to that because it's a residential offering, but it's crazy the delays that are involved in doing that. So you can get a deal tied up really quickly, but it could be months before you even hear anything, and then it could fall apart at any given time. You just don't know. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. And even there's an investment property that I have for sale, and it's priced well, but it's a financing aspect because there's some office type tenants in there, and some of the lenders are spooked by office type buildings that, so for that reason, the loan to value is not there. So there needs to be a significant amount of money. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's not worth that. But if you're relying on a lender to help you solidify the deal, you can see that the challenges there that are a bit more problematic.
Yeah.
So,
and to add to that, I mean, you talked about financing and banks. Like that's one issue
in commercial,
or could be an issue.
It's a big,
But then environmental is a whole other category where 95 to almost 100% of the buildings we sell will need a phase 1, if not phase 2, and that's land as well. If that phase 1 comes back contaminated and you have to do a phase 2, well, you're now talking anywhere between $12 to $18 to $20,000 to do a phase 2, depending on the size of the asset.
Right.
And that is a showstopper for many deals. So like the time frame could it's like I say, every file we handle is on a case by case basis, regardless if we're selling an $800,000 piece of land, or we're transacting on a $10 million building, or we're doing an $1,850 square foot lease over 2,500 square feet, or we're doing $70,000 at $15 net. We look at every asset, we look at every deal the same, we treat it the same, and we come up with a game plan so how we can transact on this and how we can make our sellers and or landlords money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And all files are handled the same. Some come with a little bit more hair on the dog than you'd like.
Exactly.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. So Ottawa obviously has a diverse commercial market, and you mentioned that you target the industrial, the development land end user, I think, for the most part. So, like, what trends are you seeing now with opportunities or things that are sticking to the market? Like, where do we stand now with the stuff that you're working on?
Overall, I think leasing is at not a standstill, but it's a lot slower. I always say to clients and other brokers and developers and people that want to be involved in Ottawa, if they're not already, our average deal in today's market is around 8 to 10,000 square feet.
8 to 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is significantly lower than the GTA or Montreal or Vancouver. Ottawa is one of the smallest markets next to Halifax in Canada.
Interesting.
Okay. And a lot of groups look at Ottawa as saying, do I need to be there? And when I first joined the business, I remember having a conversation with my father, and he said, listen, Montreal, you're about 2 hours away. Toronto, you're about 4 hours away. And there's a 401 corridor that runs through and then zigzags along, goes through Brockville, Johnstown, Cornwall, and then you're hugging along the U.S. border. Do you really need to be in Ottawa? And at one point, Ottawa's rents were competitive, and they were, it made sense. But then as the market kind of ticked up, the rents ticked up, and a lot of groups realized, Ottawa's a smaller market, although it is growing. Do we need to have a location here? Can we bypass them by being in Montreal, potentially Cornwall instead of Montreal, Brockville, Toronto, the GTA, Belleville? Do we need to be in Ottawa? And I've had countless conversations over the years with groups saying, listen, we think Ottawa's a strong market, but it's not quite there yet. We don't need to be in Ottawa yet. I think that the caveat or the other point to that is it is changing and businesses are growing here in Ottawa. I strongly believe the market will continue to grow. On the residential side, it's completely different than the commercial side, although it does affect the commercial side. Yeah. But no, I see a lot of owner-occupiers coming to Ottawa. They see that the residential market is going to be heating up, I hope. Yep. Right now I hear it's not phenomenal, but it will eventually heat up as interest rates come down. The population growth is at a steady incline, which is good to see. We're eventually going to be on the map here. We have a very, very small industrial market with just shy of 50 million square feet. 50% of that's owner-occupied. So you look at the sandbox we're playing in, and it's pretty small. Right. We're not dealing with, like I said, the GTAs of the world or Montreal, where they've got hundreds and thousands of square feet just on one street. So I always caution developers, if you're coming here, I get it. Economies of scale when you build 500,000 square feet, that works in your favor. But you might be sitting on that vacancy for a year to 2 years. Right. If you can afford to do that, by all means, you might get lucky and you find a larger user. Again, the 100,000 square foot deals don't happen too often. If you can find a way to come up with, to build small bay product, which means call it 5,000 to 10,000 square feet, if you can find a developer that can come into town and partner with a construction company that has competitive prices, that's where, the next home run will be.
Okay.
Is in small bay. We've actually started to, get in and focus on that and, convince groups that this is the avenue to go. But again, you got to put all the pieces together and have it make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm rambling now. I know that. But
No, you're not rambling at all. I think it speaks exactly to this market.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about opportunities, and obviously that you're being honest with the listener as to what the realities are.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I would love to see someone put up 100,000 square feet and tell them, hey, listen, once that's built, you'll be leased. But that's just not our market today. And you'll see it with, I won't name the developers, but as people do their research in Ottawa, you'll see out-of-town developers have come here and purchased land at a high price per acre and, say, okay, we're going to hit $18 targets all day long. Our investors are going to be happy. It's great. But then as you see, as time goes on, they're still sitting on 250,000 square feet, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 square foot units that aren't moving. In my opinion, you got that vacancy, your return on investment is definitely not as strong as you targeted. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts for sure. So.
No, that's I can just imagine. But yeah, like you said at the beginning of the conversation, if you can afford to have 2 years, 3 years of vacancy, then it's a different conversation.
That's in your pro forma, then by all means, and you give your leasing guys a lot less of stress and headaches. So.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I know at Lennard, there's a lot of emphasis on collaboration and client services. And so how does being part of a team help with the collaboration? Because one of the things that I noticed when I joined, naively, is that all of a sudden, we were seeing commercial real estate listings, and there's for the most part more than one listing broker.
Yeah.
So I was always like, oh, that's interesting. So how does that play a role with either serving the market or how does that work?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we always want to make sure we're putting our clients' best interests first. That's the number one, first and foremost, most important part. And if the client's okay with collaborating with another broker, I'm all for it. I always like to say, 50% of the pie is better than 0% of the pie. If you can split it and collaborate and achieve success together, all the power to you. I think that's great. There's also things that I can learn, vice versa. You can learn from one another on how you list properties and how you deal with clients. Although I've been in the business for 11 years, I always like to learn new things from other people. And whether it's my competition or not, I'm all eyes and ears open to see how I can better my practice in real estate. But yeah, collaboration is huge. I mean, I was a team player growing up. I always believed in that, there's no I in team. You gotta be able to connect the dots with the strategic partners. For example, if I had an office leasing client, well, I'm not going to go do that myself. I'm going to bring on someone that's strategic, whether they're inside Lennard or not. We see guys in our office partner all the time with other brokerages, and I think there's a huge benefit to it. I know some people are indifferent and they don't love it. I don't see anything wrong with it, within reason. And
I think it was just an eye opener for me, because I thought it's a great advantage in my view. Because obviously, it's if you have people, either different people they serve, different client bases, and so on. I think it was a great way to. And then obviously, you're not on all the time, so depending on who's on, there's just a bit more. A bit more options there to make something happen. So anyways, it was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, we touched a bit on, opportunities and all that, but the challenges now, so short term and medium term, where do you see, where are we in the hump of, where do you see things going? Are we in the muck for the next 6 months, you think? And I'm throwing a crystal ball, I'm asking a crystal ball because I want to know where to invest my money after.
Listen, I think we are still in the muck. There's no question about it. As we briefly talked about, tenants and owners and investors are cautious, which I fully believe that's how they should feel right now, and err on the side of caution instead of making a knee-jerk reaction. The last 2 years in real estate, on the commercial side, industrial specifically, there's been some big deals for sure. There's no question. But overall, the volume is down. Traction on leasing and selling space is down. I think it will get better heading into 2026, later into potentially early 2027. I don't think we're fully out of it just yet. It's really going to depend what happens in the global economy. I mean, there's so many. That's obviously a loaded thing to say, but there's so much that factors into why Ottawa is where it is today. I mean, I mentioned to a client the other day, looking at the GTA and how much vacancy they have there actually affects our market. Believe it or not.
How does it affect the market here?
Well, so again, this might contradict the point I mentioned earlier with companies wanting to come to Ottawa and expand, but there also are companies that are here and have been here historically for the last 25 plus years.
Yeah.
And they look at the GTA saying, okay, well, we've got some vacancy issues out this way, whether it's a developer or tenant or whatever, whoever they are, it does trickle down to Ottawa when there's so much large vacancy. Like we have seen overflow from time to time of companies say, hey, listen, like we've got a division in Ottawa, we need to expand it. But when there's that large gap in Toronto, like it's a tenant market all day long there, from what I'm told.
Yep.
I don't broker too many deals there. But talking to our colleagues and other partners I deal with, like, there's incentives for industrial tenants to occupy 100,000 to 300,000 plus square feet of space.
Yeah.
Because of, again, the developer sitting on that vacancy. But it always does stem down and trickle and affect our market some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And just overall the Canadian market. Like, what's the absorption rate? What's happening here? What's the average rent in Toronto right now? Like, it's obviously down X amount per square foot compared to what it was at a high. Deals were getting complete at $20 to $22 net. Those are now compressed to 17, even lower.
Wow, it's a
big jump.
And that affects the value.
It affects
the financing. It affects the returns.
And
it affects
just,
everything.
Exactly. It's just a nasty cycle, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But do landlords tend to want to sign shorter term leases when you're in predicament, or you're just like, I'm just looking to stabilize?
I think at that point they would do a 10-year deal, they'd do a 5-year deal. They just want to get something done.
Sure.
I'm sure they wouldn't turn down a 3-year deal. It all depends. I mean, we were dealing with landlords here in Ottawa, again, I won't name them, that were doing 6-month deals just to get groups into the space, whether
Interesting.
it's 10,000 or 30,000 square feet, and in hopes that they will stay there.
Okay.
And some did and some didn't, but that's the risk, the tenant and the landlord will take. They just wanted to fill that vacancy.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously one of the big, apparent things, the commercial real estate is the relationship aspect of this business. It's quite phenomenal. I love. The guys that I've met in the industry, I think it's they kind of all share that relationship, initiative, and with technology and AI hitting the market now, like, do you see anything affecting the commercial real estate market from a standpoint of technology, or apart from just being able to help with searches? But
I think, and you nailed it there. I think I always like to express that local boots on the ground knowledge is more powerful than anything.
Yeah, that's what I get, the sense I get too.
You and I wouldn't be sitting here having that conversation if AI totally took over. I mean, when it comes to negotiating deals, can AI do it? Potentially.
Investing in Ottawa real estate? Dore Property Management has 20 plus years of proven results. Call 613-227-0000 or visit dorerentals.com.
But when it really comes to the nitty-gritty of your client's wants and needs, I don't think it can replace that. And that human interaction. I think AI is great to help someone manage their day-to-day, maybe behind the scenes, whether it's a calendar or automatic emails that can get sorted and whatnot. But the way we operate, Ian and I operate our business, is hands-on. We like to be face-to-face with clients. We hated going online, COVID, and doing the Zoom calls and everything. Yeah. Being face-to-face is a whole lot more powerful.
No doubt.
You can do a handshake. I do think technology and AI will help eventually with the support of brokerages and specific brokers.
Yep.
But I wouldn't say it's ever going to replace, like I said, local boots on the ground that can open doors and show you, okay, well, this is what you're getting for the space, and I can help you, with whatever it is that's specific to that space. AI won't ever be able to take that over. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope it.
No, but I think it speaks to an earlier point that you brought to the table, where you'll gladly tell a client if you feel that it's the right deal or not the right deal. This is not about just collecting a commission check. It's about giving them the right advice. So as you mentioned, sometimes you say, oh, maybe this asset you shouldn't be purchasing at this time because of X reason.
Yep.
AI is a large language model, is just pulling data that's on the internet. So to understand the nuances of a deal and what's available, and understanding the needs of the client and the nuances of maybe the family environment or where the money's coming from, or how, what the objective is. that your feedback could be very different from one client to the next.
Absolutely.
Based on an absorption of all these different things happening simultaneously. So I think from a standpoint of relationship, I think that's where this business really stands out from a personal standpoint.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
AI
no, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
I think AI it's tough to it's tough to embed all these things and come up with so
exactly.
No, that's awesome.
Case by case. I always say it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
So.
And so somebody listening to this and saying, because I in the office I've seen, a few people want to apply and come into commercial real estate, and I'm always like, ugh. I can imagine, commercial real estate obviously is the deals are long. I think if you're not in for the long term, there's a reality check, that comes with this industry that may not be apparent to some people out there. So what would you tell somebody that's listening to this and say, I'd like to become a commercial realtor? Are there steps they should be taking before, or what? How do you see that?
Yeah, obviously, first things first is, make sure you got your license. Yeah. But it is really learning and understanding the market. Yeah. You can... From the outside in, you could look at brokers and go, "Oh my gosh, that person makes a lot of money," and it looks so easy. They just sold a building and made $300,000, and that's kind of what you'll hear as a generic. Oh, brokers, they make so much money and this and that, and yeah, that point can be true to a certain degree. But when you really dive into your day to day and what you're doing and try to obtain listings, I look back at my day one at CBRE, and I was very fortunate enough to be working alongside my father. And I will say, it wasn't just, here's the keys to the palace. That's not how it worked. You got to earn your right to be here and earn your living at the end of the day, which taught me how to work, that much harder. Because I find if you're just handed something, it's the reward is not the same.
Not at all.
So, and I do praise him for not just giving me everything at once, because that's not how it works. But
so how did that look like? I'm curious. No, how did that? Yeah. I'm curious, because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, being successful in business, obviously it helps. Okay, your dad was in, but at the end of the day, you still have to do the work.
100%.
So what did that look like? Like the first few years?
Early mornings.
Yeah.
And when I mean early, we were at the office at 6:30.
Right.
I was in there with my suit and tie on, doing the research, trying to understand the market. If I was fortunate enough, my dad would take me in his car and we'd drive around to the odd meeting, and then we'd show me the industrial parks. And again, I would learn the simple things. What's a dock loading door? What's a drive-in door? Why does clear height matter? Why does the turning radius matter? Little things like that people may just go, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you skim through that very, very quickly, but that's a big thing for the clients.
It is a big thing.
Yeah.
And then just understanding hands-on. And then I would see him interact with certain clients. I'm like, okay, this is how he's not, although we are salespeople, he's not selling the product or selling himself to somebody and pushing it and jamming it down their throat. It's an organic conversation. And hey, if this space doesn't work for you, if this asset doesn't work for you, let's find something else.
Right.
And that's what I learned. And I would say my father's got a very good reputation, a very easygoing guy for the most part.
Well, that's been my experience. Anyways.
Yeah, and he's willing to help younger and new people in the business, and he's got the time of day. But yeah, back to your question, for a younger person getting into this business.
So you're following up. You're going on the road, and it takes time. Listen, I started my own property management company from scratch, so I can appreciate the grind. Yeah. And so that's why I'm always curious to see how, because building this commercial real estate, it's not an easy thing.
No.
It's
Well, yeah. And sorry, your other question was like working along Ian. It was obviously majorly beneficial. Yeah. But yeah, day one in the office is there early, suit and tie, cleanly shaved, which I'm not anymore. Yeah. But just simply grinding it out, reading the newspaper, calling tenants, trying to figure out like what does our market need? What do people want? How can I help them? Finding out lease expiries, just trying to do absolutely everything to understand, okay, where can I make my first dollar in this? Right. And I'll tell you, like your first couple of years in real estate, don't expect to come in here and make, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it takes time. Right. You got to either obtain that listing, find that buyer, go through the due diligence, find them the space, first of all, go through the due diligence process. hope that the financing or everything, the due diligence all checks the boxes.
Environmental,
tenant conditions, you name it, board approval from the larger tenants. The list goes on. And then you got to hope that and that everything goes through smoothly. And then it's like, okay, we got a firm deal. And that takes so long. I mean, remember my first deal, we sold a parcel of land out on Boundary Road next to Amazon in 417.
Yeah. And
I followed up with I called the guy, cold called him. I said, hey, I got this, blah, blah. He goes, well, why are you calling me? I said, well, because I have a smaller piece of land for sale down the road. He goes, okay, well, I'm not a buyer. But he goes, what's it listed at per acre? And I told him it's $285 an acre. Okay, great, thanks. And I said, listen, anytime you're thinking of selling or you want a free broker opinion of value, not a legitimate appraisal, a BOV, let me know. Nothing. You guys, yeah, that's great. Okay, so then a year later, my phone rings, and he goes, hey, remember that piece of land you had? Did you ever sell it? I say, yeah, we sold it. And he goes, oh, great. He goes, oh, I want to talk to you about mine now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I think I followed up on a couple of emails. Hey, how's it? Merry Christmas, whatever it is. And then he goes, I want you to come in my office and it pitched to me why I should use you to sell the land and what's the value of it. So I went in there thinking, oh my God, this is great. We got it. We're good to go. We're going to sell it. Bing, bang, boom, money in the bank, and we're done. But no, he goes, by the way, I'm talking to 5 other brokers.
Right.
And I go, oh my gosh. So now I really got to button up here and get my, together to give this guy, again, honest opinion and advice, value, and then, your whole fee proposal and whatnot. And then, we fast forward another year. So we're 2 years on the clock now. It finally transacted. We sold it to a group and everyone made a bunch of money and everyone was extremely happy. But I look back and it was a grind just to get that.
And that's a success story because you're doing that with a lot of clients you don't get that.
And I could tell you all the stories that we've done that and done nothing.
Nothing.
And then you take them off the chin, as I said. You build thick skin in this business. So anyone looking to get into it, whether they know somebody or whatnot, don't be afraid to reach out. You really have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, because I think at the office we're looking for strategic people to come and join the team for commercial. For
absolutely,
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you know, you can build a pretty comfortable lifestyle. Yeah. Although it can be stressful days and stressful weeks, but you dictate the direction you want to head in, and you can really provide crucial advice for clients to become extremely successful. Some of my clients, when I first started, didn't have much, and we chipped away. We sold them a piece of land, we sold them a small building, and now they all of a sudden have got a $25 million portfolio of business. And it's
fun.
It is fun. It's
fun.
It's something special.
Yeah,
that's what I love about this business. And one other thing I'll mention is that it's fun seeing your competitors be successful as well.
Right.
There's a lot of people in the business I lost that listing and it does suck. Again, it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's fun seeing your friends who are your competitors make money in this business and do something special with their clients as well. It doesn't all have to be about yourself and you and me mentality. It's watching others be successful is something that's, in my opinion, is special. And I think that it's a full circle. What comes around goes around, and hopefully they think the same for you. Yeah. But it's Ottawa's small, as you know. Yeah. So don't burn any bridges. Obviously, is another piece of advice.
That's a good way. That's a good way to live in anything.
Although you may want to bite your tongue a million times, it's worth doing. But I think seeing other people collaborate and be successful and make money and do deals is also something that's special to watch.
Yeah. So. No, and it's fun to watch. And I mean, listen, I've been there for just a year and a few months. And the reason why I joined Lennard specifically was because your dad, and who was in the office, and it's been very beneficial. So
I'm glad.
No, that's good.
So this is just beginning.
Looking forward to years of doing this because it's fun to do this. Yeah. So no, that's good. Hey Matt, this is a fun chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me out, and it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, no. So thank you for joining us on the podcast and getting your perspective on your experience, commercial real estate, where things are going, because I'm going to invest right after this, whatever or not. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? What's the best way to reach out to you?
LinkedIn, my email, my cell phone. I'm not shy. I don't mind when people reach out. Yeah. And we just had a young guy at Carleton University who reached out with him and a couple of buddies, and they want to learn about real estate. I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's meet up for a coffee, or I can do a quick little sit down around a table to chat about the pros and cons and the do's and don'ts. And I have no problem doing something like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And obviously we'll put all your information in the link on these. So this is be fun. So no, you're a fun guy to talk to. And I think the experience and, having your dad there too is I think brings a wealth of knowledge and experience. And like you just said, you don't push anything on. You're really trying to help the situation. It's fun to see your clients grow and see if you can help them in any way, shape or form. So so anybody listening in, I would highly recommend that they reach out to you for their needs. So.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, like Mike needs to tell me every time, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Dore Podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or investor focused on real estate in Ottawa, we want to hear from you. Apply to be a guest and check out our video content anytime on YouTube.